So I arrived in Macapa last night at 7:30. It was a long 550-kilometer four-wheel drive ride from Oiapoque in the north, in the French border, all the way to Macapa. Now, the truth is, I can't travel like any further south unless I get on a boat, because there's no bridges leading to other southern states of Brazil. But the exciting thing that Macapa has is they've got a big equator monument, and even half of the football stadium lies on either side of the hemisphere. Like one's in the north, the other half's in the south. And also, they have a few fortresses, which is not far from here. But today my main aim is to get to Monument Zero, so I can go back to the southern hemisphere the first time in 3 years. So when you think about the equator, you tend to think about where you actually came from in life. If you're a northern hemisphere person or a southern hemisphere person. Now, I was born in that shithole Australia where I lived for 30 years, so I spent 30 years of my life in the southern hemisphere. Then, in 2015, I moved to Great Britain, so I lived in the northern hemisphere. But there was never a time in my life that I had ever crossed the equator on foot. I mean, flying from Sydney to Kuala Lumpur nearly every year, I crossed the equator by plane. The closest I ever got to the equator in the world was in Kuching in 2015. See, like Kuching, it's a long bus ride to Indonesia, to like a town that's also on the equator. I think it's called Pontiac. And now, I mean, there's many countries in the world that you can actually cross the equator on foot. I'm talking about Kenya, Uganda. Part of the equator is in Somalia, but that's a very dangerous part of Somalia, so don't go there. The island of Sumatra in Indonesia does cross the equator, so does that part of Borneo, Indonesian Borneo. That's also in the equator. If you want to make it easier, you can easily fly to Quito in Ecuador. That's on the equator. Then the equator also crosses through a bit of Colombia, and most of all Brazil, I guess. Yeah. But also other parts that cross the equator. I'd say DR Congo, formerly known as Zaire back in my parents' days. See, look, there it is, first sighting. If I zoom in a little bit, although you can't really see it, it's a little greyish, tall building with a zero in the middle, because the equator means like 0 degrees, I guess. So like when you look at coordinations on GPS, it will normally, like where I am right now, let's say N digit and W digit. I think when if you actually cross the international date line, it will probably say like N digit E, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, it would definitely say south digit E or south digit W. Because I remember when Michael Palin crossed the date line in around 180 days, actually went from northwest to northeast. Where I'm standing right now, I'm still in the southern hemisphere, because that like zero is where the equator like runs. These people, you're driving in the northern hemisphere, now they're about to go into the southern hemisphere, it's like that. But I mean, these people in Macapa, they go back and forth between the northern and the southern hemisphere all throughout the day. Okay, it's a big significant moment, right? The green line says in the northern hemisphere, the yellow line says in the southern hemisphere. So, what's this? Alright, see? There's a line. I'm back in the southern hemisphere the first time in 3 years! Yay! Woohoo! We're good. What's it like to be back in the southern hemisphere after 3 years and like 3 weeks? Anything? It feels different. I was like, you know what? Let's get them back here though. Gotta remind me of my bad past in Australia. So for a bit of a fun scenario, okay, right? I'm on the southern hemisphere right now, and this is the equator. Now, I'm on the northern hemisphere. Southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere. But, like, if I stand right here, I'm on the equator, whoa! So you know the fun you're gonna have when you're on the equator. I mean, the one in Ecuador is a bit funnier because they've got this challenge. You have to try and balance an egg on something like this. Like, actually, I put my camera here. I took a photograph of my left foot. So my right foot in the southern hemisphere, and my left foot in the northern hemisphere. So means Marco do equator latitude 00 degrees, hemisphere nor Macapa. That basically says you're in the northern hemisphere. And on this side, the southern hemisphere, it basically says, let's see, Marco 00 equator latitude 00 degrees, hemisphere sul, south, Macapa, AP, Amapa, that's the state of Brazil. That's the state I'm currently in. The only Brazilian state I'm ever going to get to, like, on this trip. Now, I've just done visiting the equator of Monument, which is a replica like that, over there. And so they call this avenue the Equator, like, avenue. And my guide said if I go all the way down here, I'll get to the Amazon River, which should be quite good. My only thing I'm having a hard time trying to find in this town is an ATM, because I need to get some hard cash so I can go back home. Well, actually, I go back to French Guiana on Thursday, and and go back home to England on Sunday. So I mean, like, time is money, if you ask me. But like, right here, alright, that's the equator. So I'm still in the southern hemisphere, and like this avenue thing, like, that's going all the way down. It's like, so I don't know how long I'm going to be in the southern hemisphere for. I kind of think I'll spend most of my time, because most of the monuments and all the cool stuff is in the northern part of Macapa, in the northern hemisphere. So this is like a proud moment to be, because I was gonna go to Uganda for my birthday, but then all of a sudden it annoyed me that I hadn't been to South America in my life. So I decided to go to South America and travel to the equator in Macapa. I just left the equator behind me. Well, I'm still walking along it, and I'm walking across another bridge. And as look at those houseboats over there. Maybe like, we're gonna make George back in London eat your heart out. So the Amazon River should be all the way like at the end of this road, and then I'll be able to go back to my hostel. Now I'm still walking along the Equator Avenue, but I'm heading close to the Amazon River. So this is kind of like my first time getting up close and personal with the Amazon River. Now, being born in Sydney, I lived on the Pacific Ocean for all my life. I never went to the Indian Ocean. Like, I have been to countries that are on the Indian Ocean, but I've never been on the Indian Ocean. I've been in the Atlantic Ocean many times, as I was earlier this week and all. So it's in the Atlantic Ocean. But like, when I went to the Mediterranean Sea for the first time, and I was like 24, actually 25, it was like really quite significant that I could stand in Italy, in this town called Ventimiglia, and just say, hey, that's the Mediterranean Sea, and across the sea is Libya, where a war is going on. So now, this Amazon River part, I was showing this to some of my co-workers on FaceTime today. They're like saying, oh, it looks like a beach. I'm like, no, it's still part of the Amazon. It's just like leading out towards the Atlantic Ocean. So, you gotta remember, the Amazon River, it starts in Peru, somewhere in Peru, and it crosses into, at that tri-point where Colombia, Peru, and Brazil meet. And it does happen to go to Guyana, and I guess it drains into other neighboring countries in the north, like Suriname. But like it ends up, its mouth is the Atlantic Ocean, kind of like how the Nile, it starts in, they say that the original source of the Nile is actually in Uganda, but it's actually in Rwanda. So the Nile ends in the Mediterranean Sea. And so this is the end of they call it Equator Avenue. So I don't really think I'm going to be going further any south from here on my trip at all. So this is like my last look into the southern hemisphere, like while I'm physically in it. So goodbye to the hemisphere. Now let's go back to the northern hemisphere. Now you may think that I might be on a beach or something, but I'm not, actually not, like, cause if I was on a beach, I'd be on an ocean and I couldn't really see like land very far out. I mean, look, there's land all around there, so we're still part of the Amazon River. Like, when I was in New Zealand many years ago, I was like driving through Lake Taupo, and you just feel like that the sea is right by your side. Yes. Now, if you want beaches in Brazil, please don't come to Macapa. We just got the Amazon River. Plus, I reckon that there's plenty of piranhas out there. Go to Rio, there are better beaches there, I guess. Good afternoon, guys and girls, and all you other metalheads of the world out there. Overland Metalhead here, coming to you from Macapa in Amapa State, in the northern part of Brazil. If you can't tell, I'm at the bus station, or a coach station, and I've been waiting here since 1 o'clock, because my bus to Oiapoque, up in the very north, it doesn't leave till 7 o'clock. Now, my good mate Johnny Blair, he was at this actual spot 5 years ago, and took the same route to Oiapoque, but he got into a four-wheel drive for $150. So I just bought a bus ticket for 135 reals. So it's about like 70 reals less than what I paid to get in a four-wheel drive to come down to here. Now there's buses leaving at like 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock-ish and all, and do you remember there used to be some leaving at like 11? Now Macapa, the public transport doesn't come up on your iPhone, so I've literally in the past few days I walked from my hostel, like on the Amazon River, all the way down to the equator and all the way back to my hostel, and then I've walked another 5 kilometers from my hostel to come here. So do bear in mind that public transport is around, but you need to like look online for this type of stuff. Yeah. So it should only take me about 12 hours to get back to Oiapoque today. I'm guessing I won't get back there until 6 in the morning. So I've got to spend a further 24 hours in Oiapoque because I want to go over to French Guiana. Because you see, on the French Guiana side, the hotel's only 60 euros a night, and there's only 2 of them. But then on the ones on the Brazilian side, they're at least 40 and a bit like under. So I'm gonna have to like look around tomorrow morning. It's nearly 7 o'clock, and I'm like really way out of town. The bus station to get the bus to Macapa, that's really like 2 kilometers from the frontier. So if you arrive at the port, you just have to get a taxi there if you don't know where to go, because there's hardly any Wi-Fi or good internet connections in this area. Yeah, so it only cost me 135 reals to get on a bus at 7 o'clock last night. And it's, I'd say like less than 12 hours. Like a few stops along the way for like dinner and like tea breaks, toilet breaks and all that stuff. So it seems much cheaper to take the bus there, but I'd say the four-wheel drive I took on Monday was a lot more comfortable, I guess.